Well, first of all, I just want to congratulate Coach Moore and his staff and those players on a great victory over the weekend. I watched it from my hotel room in Canada. The paint that's peeled off in that room from me screaming and hollering will never be the same. But so excited for them, excited for our university, and happy for those guys. And so our game Sunday, we have a Stock the Pantry game that benefits Bully's Closet Pantry. Anybody that'll bring canned good or certain boxes of things, of food pertaining to edible objects and things can get in for free. Is that right?
Yes.
Free. And gosh, I've been here 8 years, y'all. We don't have too many games where you do something you can get in for free. So just want to encourage everybody. It's that time of the year. It's a reason for the season. It's a giving time, and what that can do for people in our community is really special. And so just want to encourage everyone, from tuna to chicken noodle soup to box of oatmeal to anything and everything in between. And so I just want to encourage everybody to do that. Had a great trip, gone a long time, glad to be home. Took 21 hours for us to get home. We might as well have gone to Europe as far as the traveling went, because it was a long day for our kids Sunday. I think we got them up at 5:30 or 6. We got back at 3 a.m., so that's 21 hours, 3 airplanes, some delays and things like that. We were lucky to get home. At one point in time, they were going to have to hold the plane to help us make our connection, but we owned half the plane, so it was going to be worth their while to save it. But as it turned out, that plane ended up being delayed. But glad to be home. It was a very beneficial trip for our program. Played some really good competition. Started with Marquette on the road on Monday night, and really had to reach back and play really well, especially in the down the stretch in a close ball game, and execute, which we did. And then to go from there to Canada the next day, and then to play 3 really good teams back to back to back, and played really well. San Francisco had scored 71 points on Stanford and played them really well and close, and then they ended up beating the University of Houston later in the tournament, I believe. And we really played well. They held the ball similar to UT Martin when we played here at home, and yet we were still able to execute and score 73 points in that ball game, but really defended well, held them to 38 points. And you got to turn around and play one of the great coached teams in the country in Wisconsin Green Bay. Just an extremely disciplined, well-coached team. They're going to guard you. They're going to execute their half-court offense. And, of course, we had a 2-point game at halftime and came out in the second half and just played extremely well. I was really proud of our kids, our execution. We didn't turn the ball over that much at all on the trip, which is encouraging. And then came back and had a knockdown drag-out with Stanford. Had a shot with 10 seconds left, wide open 3 to tie. Could have very well been holding for the last shot to win if some things had gone differently in that game. So really encouraged in how we played that game, and encouraged that we had 3 sophomores and 2 freshmen on the floor in the fourth quarter when we made our run. You had Andy, who I know is listed as a junior, but this is only her second year really of competition. She's out there with Jemiah at point, and Rakia, Jessica, and Zaria. And so those kids, there's not a lot of experience out there, and they're going toe-to-toe, head-to-head. And actually, they won their quarter. And so we just had a real bad start to the third quarter and didn't play well. And a team like that makes you pay. So encouraged, and coming home, we got a lot of things to fix. As we found out, winning masks a lot of problems. And we've got our fair share right now that we need to address, and we are addressing them. And we got to get ready for a really good West Virginia team that's going to be coming in here. And they've only lost 1 game all year. I think they're 5-1 and playing extremely well. Got some really good players. The Martin kid is just a dynamic, hard to defend kid. Mike runs a lot of stuff that allows her to be really successful. The Gunder's kid is playing off the chart right now, and Niblack has always been a great player for him, and it just has been a really good player. So we got to get through finals. Finals start tomorrow. Today's a reading day, and so we'll take tomorrow off and have finals, and we'll get back at it on, what is today?
Today's Wednesday.
So we'll get back at it on Friday, Saturday. Yeah, we'll take tomorrow, Thursday off.
We'll start with Ben and then go to Robbie.
Vic, you got 30 minutes out of Jemiah in that Stanford game. How much of that is by design? How much is that just kind of how it shook out? Do you expect her to maybe see a little bit of an increase in minutes?
Yeah, so we noticed some things that we felt like we had to deal with, and we felt like, we went to Aaliyah early, and she made a couple of big shots for us, but at the same time, Jemiah I've told y'all, she's involved in plays on both ends of the floor. It seems like I'm always coaching her, talking to her more than anyone during the course of the games, because she's involved in everything, good, bad, and indifferent. And so she was involved. She drove that point guard for Stanford nuts, forced her into 8 turnovers. We forced 20 turnovers against them, y'all, which is really, really good. And took them out a lot of their stuff they wanted to do in the second half. So, and she was a big part of that. So, Jemiah she's not, as all my kids are, there ain't nobody afraid, nobody scared, and she's just ultra competitive. I just am so impressed with the kid, and so it just worked out that way, really. I don't think there was anything planned in that, but it was just kind of what we needed at that position right then.
Speaking on those players that you had down the stretch, the freshmen, the sophomores, did you feel like they really kind of grew up in the last 2 quarters? They went down, I think, 14, 15 points, and the press really affected Stanford down the stretch. Looked like the defense was starting to get their feet under them. Did you feel like those younger players really kind of took a step in that game? I know you don't want to lose a game, but did you feel like you really took a step?
Absolutely. I think those kids grew up, made some really good decisions, but they just were playing hard. They were guarding and defending, and our pressure just kind of wore them down. And by the fourth quarter, they were giving it to us out top, and those kids had a lot to do with that. And it just felt like, from a competitive standpoint, those were the kids that were out there laying it all on the line and playing extremely hard and defending, and they were just playing better. At the end of the day, that's what we're going to do. We're going to play the kids that are playing better at that time, and so I think those kids all were they were ready for that moment, and weren't afraid of that moment. It wasn't too big for them, and like I said, at the end of the day, Jemiah's sitting there with a wide open 3. There's not anybody within 20 feet of her, and you know what? She'll be ready for that moment again, and she'll make that shot next time. And that's a shot I want her to take every day, all day. So, I do think those kids absolutely grew up a little bit, though.
Logan.
Vic, I remember covering that game against West Virginia back in 2014, and how big of a win that was early on in that season. But just how monumental, looking back on it, was that win to kind of help build the program to what it is today?
Yeah, it was probably the first big one, wasn't it? It was the semifinals, I think, of the NIT, maybe. And I think they were ranked at the time. They were 17, and of course had a lot of history and tradition, and of course they're just so well coached, and so it was a big win for us. And probably the first, might be, other than the Georgia game that first year, might be the next team that we really beat that was ranked. I'd have to go back and look. That's probably not true, but it was a big game for us. It was early in the year, and that was that freshman class, I think, that was really good for us. So lots happened since then for us and them, and one thing hadn't changed, though. They're still a really good basketball team, and they're well coached, and I'd say we've held our own as well.
Robbie.
There was going to be a step down rebounding when you lost Andrew and T. What's the biggest issues you're seeing, and what's limiting you in that area? Y'all got beat by 20 rebounds overnight, and that obviously was a key factor in the ball game.
No question. I think we gave up 3 offensive rebounds the second half. The first half was was a butt kicking. And all that is, y'all, is toughness. You know, we've talked and walked around here for a while now, and we've always been, y'all have watched us play, we take great pride and we hang our hat on being the tougher team. The toughness has to do with so many different things, both mentally and physically. And rebounding is toughness. And we're not very tough right now in a lot of areas, but that is a glaring area that we've been continuing to address. We only gave up 3 offensive rebounds in the second half. And of course, they shot a really good percentage the third quarter, but the fourth quarter they did not shoot a good percentage. Talking about Stanford. So Rakia's got to rebound more. She knows it, I know it, everybody knows it. That's a kid that needs to be getting 6 or 7 a night. Right now she's getting 2 and some change, 2.7. Jordan's getting 3.8. I'd love for her to be in the 4.5 range. Jessica Carter is absolutely competing her tail off right now. She is battling down there. They were double teaming her the other night. And so we've got to get some help. Chloe has, done a good job. She's getting 6 a game, and that helps. But I got to get Rakia in there. She's got to help us by 4 on both ends, offense and defense. She's got to give us some more rebounds, and she knows it. And that kid's coming now. She played really well on the trip. Shot it at a good percentage. She's now up to shooting 46%. She's 50 from 3. We probably don't beat Marquette without Rakia in the fourth quarter. Her 3rd time through in the substitution chain was a great rotation for her. She makes a big 3 in the corner. I think we were down 5. I had called timeout. She gets a 3 in the corner, and Nate makes it. And then not many times, y'all, down the stretch, you see a coach go into a freshman. But I went to her 2 straight times, and she delivered offensively. And so she really played well, I thought, the whole trip. And is taking better shots. She's making more shots than she's missing. She's really trying to defend. She's so long, and she's quick and athletic, and she can create some problems for folks. And I tell you, one of the things you learn about your team when you're on the road, I need another defender. I need another lockdown wing/forward defender. Because Joe right now could potentially be that lockdown defender for us on a wing player. But I need that other lockdown defender. Maya obviously has been our great help side defender. Rakia took a charge or 2 on the trip, but I need somebody on ball that can really lock down somebody. And so that's one of the things we're going to really try to work on and try to see if we can't develop over the next few days.
Vic, you mentioned Rakia's offensive output. Obviously, I think she had 2 of her 3 best scoring nights in the game in Canada. How much of it is for her? Is it just a matter of getting some more of that game experience and just kind of getting that under her belt and maybe being a little bit less green game to game?
I think it's all of it. I do. I think she's settling in. I think she's getting more and more comfortable. I think she's understanding more and more what a good shot is. She's turning it over a little bit more than she needs to. She leads us in turnovers, but she's starting to make better decisions where she's not turning it over, and she's just so hard to get to because she is a big guard. I mean, she's 6'2", closer probably to 6'3". She's got arms from here to tomorrow, and it's just hard to get to her. And you don't guard her on the perimeter, she can knock it down. If you come get her, she's going to go by you. She can post you up. She's just a really, she's tough to deal with. So I do think it's just her getting comfortable, and I think she's only going to go up from here.
Tyler?
Talked about the rebounding and the toughness, but you talked about some other issues as well, didn't name any. If there was 1 or 2 things you had to put your finger on that could have put you over the top and to where you guys won that Stanford game, what would those things be?
So I have a poem that I hand out every year to our players, and the title of it is, "It's Only One Possession." And in the poem it talks about a missed free throw, a missed block out on a free throw, a missed help side defensive rotation, a no contested shot. I mean, the list goes on and on. if you go to that Stanford game, it's a one possession game. It's only one possession. And everybody that played had a hand in a bad possession. My point guards, all three of them gave up a breakaway layup. They weren't back. That's your only job. Run my team and make sure you're back in transition defense to not give up well, all three of them. And that's been an issue for us. And that's just one instance. I think the biggest thing though right now, we're just a very immature young team. And that immaturity is spread out throughout things like being places on time. Okay, that's just one example. When you're gone for a week and you got places to be, things to do, being on time is important. We got issues with that. Well, that's just a discipline thing. It is. Being on time, being 5 minutes early to be on time is nothing more than being disciplined. It's respect. It's understanding the importance of that. And so, to me, those are the little things. I could go on and on. I had a list of 10 things yesterday, not to air out our laundry, but, you know, that we had talked about. But those are the things to me in coaching that I've found that hurt you down the line in games. If you're not disciplined enough to sign my door every day like you're supposed to, being on time, we lost something on the trip. We lost an item that we don't need to be losing on the trip. You know, again, just you can go on and on. I mean, I got a whole laundry list here, but those are things to me that are big deals that a lot of places aren't. Some coaches don't even care about that stuff. I do. If you ever travel with me, you'll notice I'm the last one on the bus. Because when I get on the bus, we're leaving. So everybody needs to be on the bus when the coach gets on the bus. Now, I may get on the bus 5 minutes late just to make sure Victoria Vivians is on the bus. Because I really don't want to leave without Victoria. But I just think those are the things that are important when you're, especially with young kids, trying to develop toughness, discipline, those things that to me in a game for us that we've always had. The discipline enough to know I'm in help. The discipline enough to know I got to rotate here. The discipline to know I'm guarding this kid and I know she wants to go left, spin back right. I'm going to play that. The discipline to know a scouting report. The discipline to know I'm on the scout team today. We're meeting at 9. Nobody else has to be there till 9:30, but I've got to be there at 9. Again, these are just all things that we're teaching our young, immature team right now. They're great kids. I love them to death. I love coaching them. I love the challenge of them. But these are things that we're addressing right now, which is nothing unusual. It's not. We've just been around, as y'all have, we've been around some veteran teams here lately with us. Well, we don't have that now. I got one senior. Our leadership. We've got to continue to work on developing leadership with our players that we have, because we're void of leadership right now. And so we're continuing to work on that. And again, y'all, none of this is terminal. It's just stuff that if you don't address it now, I'll be dealing with it in February, and it'll be hurting me in games. So these are things that every team's going through, and we're going through them, and we'll continue to work on. And again, it's the accountability piece with young people, just making sure they understand. It's like somebody told me the other day, I had this conversation, y'all were at the luncheon, and a guy walked up to me afterwards, he said, "Coach, in Vietnam, if you were a minute late, somebody was going to die." Well, obviously, this isn't in that realm. Nobody's going to die if we're a minute late here or there. But that's what happens. Things happen when you're tardy, when you're late. You're late to work in the business world, they might fire you. So it's our job, not just in the X's and O's piece, but to teach them the importance of being on time and doing things right and having the right stuff on and all that. So anyway, like I said, you find out, and we're addressing it, and we'll get it right.
Any other questions? All right, thanks,
All
Coach.
right, appreciate y'all. Praise the Lord and go Dogs.